Rader podcast. We're back again, gentlemen.
What number is this?
In the house.
There's like 10 of them up there.
All right.
Yeah, a couple of them I did by myself, and we didn't publish or anything. I just put them up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're moving right along. This is good. Keeping it to one a month has been nice. Next couple are going to be fun. Domain slamming and email encryption.
I keep looking at that domain slamming and be like, are they dancing? What are they doing?
Now, domain slamming is an interesting one, and all of our customers have been susceptible to this, so I wanted to bring that one up. But we're going to go back to the very first one we did, email phishing, because It's been an interesting 2 weeks here at Rader Solutions with lots of phishing attempts, some of them successful.
Super prevalent.
Yep. Before we get going, I apologize for the audio glitch in the last podcast. I have Chris Rader's 2009 iMac. He's like, just wipe it and repurpose it. What can you do? I'm like, podcast. And then, of course, first time we do some audio glitch. So if there's any other ones, well, I'll just duck it out. All right, so phishing, we kind of know what phishing is, but we'll go back over that. There's only two ways to really prevent phishing, and there's technical security measures like Exchange Online Protection, which comes with Office 365's Exchange. You could do something like advanced threat protection or third-party spam filtering, things like that, which some of our customers have. But really, user training is the only way we're going to really get through this, right? That no amount of security is going to stop phishing attempts. So once again, Mr. McClurg, what is a phishing attempt?
It's where somebody pretends to be somebody that they're not, or essentially it's where they try to glean information from you that they don't need, that they will monetize, essentially, that they'll try to get money for.
Yep. So there's the two kinds that we see most often are the where they try to get your password, your email password, and then hack your account and then wire transfer some money or something
Absolutely.
like that. Or sometimes even your Dropbox account is good enough to get financial information. So getting a password. The other one is getting you to install ransomware, in which case they encrypt all your data and then say, give me some money. So those are the two basic kinds. Sam, what is email spoofing?
So a spoofer is somebody who impersonates another email sender. They modify the header somehow, and when the email arrives in your inbox, it looks like it's come from, maybe one of your contacts, somebody you know. Sometimes they even obfuscate the domain name. They'll change a P to a Q. And yeah, they impersonate.
So it'd be like me sending you an email, but making it look like it came from our boss.
That's right.
And saying, give me your W-9 info, or I-9.
Give me your data.
W-2. Give me your data. All right, so a very specific kind of phishing, spear phishing. McClurg, what is spear phishing?
Well, that's when you have enough information that you know a specific individual in an organization, so you direct the phishing attempt toward that individual in the organization. So you doctor the email to address them. So you've collected enough information in the beginning that you know exactly what they can do, and you treat them either like a contact on their contact list or a boss or somebody like that, and you direct it specifically toward them.
And we see this a lot with like the VP of sales or the financial officer or
Absolutely.
the accounts payable. Like they're really directing those phishing attempts towards that person because they want access to that account. All right, a very specific type of spear phishing, whaling. What is whaling?
Whaling is when the chief level employees are targeted, the CEOs, the CFOs. Really, the head honchos are singled out in a very targeted spear phishing attempt.
And sometimes what we'll do with them is apply more protection to their account to help try to stop this. And we see this day in, day out, where whaling it's definitely a thing. We see it. It's not just the definition in Wikipedia. Yeah. So there's another one called clone phishing. Look in the Wikipedia article. There's a lot of them in here. Filter evasion, website forgery, covert redirect. Phone phishing was an interesting one where they send you an email to have you call, and like it's your bank. This is Bank of America. Please enter your PIN number, and then all of a sudden now they have your PIN number. Yeah. Pop-up phishing, tab dabbing, evil twin. Evil twin is when somebody makes another wireless network that looks like a legit one, so that when your phone connects to it, they're grabbing your data. Link manipulation. This kind of goes back to the first type of email phishing. What is link manipulation?
Well, that's when you have an embedded link in an email that, and there's a lot of different ways to do it, but essentially it appears like it's going to direct you to a certain address or to a certain site, and it really directs you toward whatever the phisher wants you to go to. Typically, and what we see the most of, is it directs you toward a sign-in page that seems to be your email sign-in page. That's the most common, and this is all in an attempt to get your login information for your email to access your contacts list.
So, and I saw that one recently. I got it, and I looked at it, and so I opened it up in a separate computer, separate browser off the network, and it looked like a legitimate Office 365 login page. The resizing worked. Everything worked exactly the way it's supposed to. This copyright, I mean, it was basically they scraped it and put it on a different server.
Yeah.
What are the other services that we're seeing being targeted these days?
Dropbox,
Facebook, any kind of
Google Drive was a big one for a while.
Still is, I think.
I saw an interesting one the other day that I received. It looked like it was a voicemail. Like, it looked like it came in as an audio file, and I'm sure if I would have double-clicked it, it would have been an executable that installed something on my computer. But it really looked like, hey, you have a new voicemail. Looked just like the voicemails that everybody gets when you have, a voicemail that goes to your email address. I thought that one was pretty nifty. Another thing that they're doing is, instead of it just being a link, like click here, or having a URL, they'll put a picture there instead. And they're trying to fool the spam filters into letting it through. And so the Google Drive one was a big one, because it was just a Google Drive icon that you double-clicked on, and then it brought you somewhere else, but it looked like a Google Drive login. Okay,
so crafty.
Yeah. And I've actually, as a test, tried to make some of those websites, and I'm going to do an email spoofing webinar at some point, but I've made the Office 365 login and made the Google Drive. It's so easy to do. You just grab the images and you throw it together.
Build a website.
Yep. Okay, so I put some notes down here, some things to do either after you've been compromised. One other note, I was doing some research. I follow a lot of security sites now. The amount of ransomware on the dark web consists of, 80% of the actual web? Mm-hmm. I think something like that. The amount of ransomware has increased 2,151% in the last year. They've now made $24 billion using ransomware this year. You can buy it as cheap as 50 cents on the dark web, and as much as $500.
Sure.
But yeah, 24 billion, that's up from it was 30 or 40 million last year.
Yeah.
24 billion.
It doesn't even have to work.
Big business, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, so if when somebody's getting a lot of phishing attempts, the first thing I do, do you know the first thing I do?
Google their email address.
Yep. Most of the time, I get a hit. Where is it usually?
On their website, man.
Of course. So if you can Google your email address, and go do this right now, Google it. If you get hits, that you're getting phishing attempts.
Yeah,
it's
just
going to
get targeted.
It's going to happen. So don't...
These are robots just searching for things to
If
target.
we can do it, they can do it.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yep. Another one, don't click on links. Don't ever click on it to see where it goes. What are we supposed to do there?
Hover.
You just hover over, see where the link's going.
Hover over it, your little pop-up says what the URL is, the website. If it looks weird, certainly don't click on it at that point. Delete the email, call us. We'll take a look at it.
Definitely.
I thought of this one the other day when signing up for services. I don't like that Gmail and iCloud and all these services went to using an email address in the past few years, because I prefer to username, because when you use an email address now, it's potentially out there. So if you can use a username and not an email address when signing up for a new server, do that, because that means that your email address isn't being used for authentication. Obviously, don't reuse passwords across multiple sign-ins as well, because if they get one, that means they have them all, especially if you're using your email address to log into services.
Yep.
Anything else? I mean, I got a few other ones here.
I always want to add in, email is not a means to replace person-to-person contact and communication. If your organization deals with transferring money, make sure to get confirmation for any transfer, or anytime you are buying or selling something, get confirmation by voice, either over the phone with your client or your boss or whatever, or face-to-face. It doesn't matter. If it takes half an hour out of your day, it might save you
Even the whole fill out this form, download it. Here's a Dropbox link, and fill it out. I'm your insurance company. Call your insurance company. Did you mean to? If you're not expecting it, you need to confirm that it was supposed to be sent to you.
It just treat it as your own. Own it every single time, because I promise you, it'll save somewhere down the line. It will save you heartache just to have the peace of mind to know that this is absolutely the thing that I'm supposed to do. And I think that we're all guilty of using email a little too much as some sort of internal memorandum. Mm-hmm. And that's from years and years of using this service, we get so dependent on it, but we don't need to. Yep. It doesn't need to be internal memorandum.
I would say use it as a follow-up to a phone call to document, but still make that phone call.
Absolutely.
A couple other ones: avoid using your work address for things like personal newsletters, because those lists of addresses get sold, over and over again to third parties. I went back and forth with a coworker today about this one, and it goes back to spear phishing, and that is putting your executives' faces, names, and positions on your website. I really like when I can go to a website and see who I'm talking to. It creates a personal connection to that company or that person. But really, when you're saying, hey, here's this person, he's VP of sales, you're now telling the hackers, this is the person that you should spear phish.
Here's the guy.
Yeah.
So you really need to have an internal discussion about that, whether or not this is a good idea for your company or a very bad idea for your company.
Well, so I have some opinions on this, and I think if I could take a second,
yep.
I get a lot of calls, and if anybody who's listened to this podcast, I talk on the phone a lot. And here recently, there has been an overabundance of calls for an MSP who's somebody that we have worked with, is a competitor, but we have a friendly talking relationship, of course, with, and we have gotten just this huge influx of calls that have just not seemed right. Well, I've slept them off and kind of just not really given them any sort of thought. But then we got a legitimate call from this MSP, and I said, hey, we're getting some really weird calls about from you guys. And they're like, absolutely not. We would never call trying to sell you guys anything, or we just don't do things like this. This is not how we conduct business.
That's right. It was an internet service provider, an ISP, or was it an MSP?
It was an MSP.
Yeah, an MSP, yeah. It was usually like an Indian guy saying, hey, we're with company A, and
And it
wasn't Company A at all.
No, but he had certain individuals in our organization's names, and he was trying to glean information about our structure, about who was in our organization, and things like that.
So this person probably found a couple of our clients, found out who the important people were on the websites, and then name dropped.
Absolutely. So, and this is one of the things that I think plays an important role in phishing attempts, is there is a little bit of social interaction and kind of a preemptive phish that goes on, where people will call and try to collect a bunch of information, enough that they can doctor these emails to make them look very, very official. They'll pretend to be trusted vendors, they'll pretend to be trusted contacts and things like this, just to gather enough information to put you at ease when you open this email, that you would never really think twice about it. And so treat every call with a little bit of question. Every time you receive a call, if something doesn't seem exactly right, it may be that somebody's trying to.
Don't just go giving away information without
Absolutely.
knowing. Well, don't click on a link unless you know where it's going. Don't put your password in unless you know it's a legit site, and
That's
don't
right.
give away information unless you know who you're talking to. That kind of goes back to clone phishing, which we didn't talk about, and that is, you know enough about the email where you can mimic the signature and make it look like it's coming from somebody else, even if it's not. Lastly, we see this now every single time when somebody has fallen for a phishing attack and their email account has been compromised. There's almost always an inbox rule saying,
That's right.
forward all email to this other email account. So if you think you have been compromised, certainly call us, but also check your inbox rules. Check them, make it something that you do once a month or once a quarter. Just make sure that, there could be ongoing. People could be hacking your account for months and months and months trying to get information before they actually go for that wire transfer or take action on it. So check your inbox rules. It's a good thing to do. Anything else, guys?
Just to add on to that, there's certain ransomwares that'll sit on your computer before they even make a move. It's kind of a similar
The one not too long ago, it sat there for like 3 months before it was activated.
Before it even did
right.
anything, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it just collects information and it waits. And, the same thing goes for these phishers. They just wait for the opportune moment.
Yep. So we can't emphasize security enough. If you
Something
think
seems off, just give us a call.
give us a call. And if you're interested in hardening up your security even more with like more spam filters, and call us and we'll tell you the options and we'll go over your account and we'll figure it out for you.
The sky's the limit. We can do two-factor
That's right.
authentication. We can just disable links entirely.
Yep.
Applications to store and insert passwords. There are all sorts. Honestly, there's so many things we can do.
Yep. Good deal, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time, and we'll do this again in, say, 3 or 4 weeks.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thanks.